Salutations, greetings, happy new year, Dorman listeners. We are here with a brand new episode, first one of the year 2023. I hope you guys had the great holiday. As you know, my name is Evangelist, and with me as always,
Steven in the building.
And you know what? I really didn't know how to enter this new year. Really didn't know what to talk about. I really didn't. We hadn't done this in a couple of weeks, and terrible on us. But
Christmas time, New Year's.
We got to give it a break.
Yeah.
I mean, but according to the consistency of the recommendations of people who do YouTube videos, they say you want to release as much content as possible. But as you know, we are not abiding by any rules by any means.
And our fans want us to do this daily, I feel like.
They would want to see a couple of old men bantering back and forth.
At least my grandpa wants it daily. One listener.
Frank, we always want to please you. But yeah, coming into 2023, what's to talk about? Man, we can rant about the same stuff that you see constantly on your social media feed, and or we can go and comment on the difference between your social media feed and
reality,
mainstream. Well, not even just reality, but your legacy media, or we can talk about all of the stories on the internet about what's a big one right now.
Oh, the Speaker of the House has now taken 13 different times to vote on the Speaker of the House.
Oh, right. That's So I mean, we can do all that and maybe bore you or maybe
educate you.
I you know what? This is the thing, and this is kind of what I wanted to what I've always kind of wanted to address here on this channel, right? Is delving into the details of our societal realities, is that truly education?
No, I guess it's opinion. It's opinionation. As George W. Bush the word. But it's so I guess it's just our take on the situation.
Yeah, I mean
it's not education. But I think maybe it's a form of education if we're bringing our flavor to the situation.
Okay, so our
different perspective,
whether it be our flavor or a commonly accepted norm, right? Is it truly education, right? That's always been my thought, and that's always been the reasoning behind my thought process and sharing my thought process.
Well, I guess it's not. Maybe I used the wrong language, but it's not. I guess it's not education. It's letting others know our opinions on current situations that we discuss.
Sure.
So,
and then when we present a current situation, I believe all we're really doing is we're presenting a puzzle, and we're giving our perspectives that we've heard, and each of these perspectives are like little pieces of the puzzle, right? But what is the big picture? Is always what I want to. It's always kind of what I want to highlight and spotlight.
Is it an infinite amount of puzzle pieces that we'll never get to the end
of? That's everything that we're doing, right? Everything that we preach, the thought process, sharing the thought process.
Right.
We always talk about the idea that if everyone lends their thought process, the truth will bubble to the top. It'll float to the top, right? And so the end game, right, is this big picture. Mm-hmm. So once we've all given forward or put forth our little pieces of the puzzle, real truths can be seen and discovered. Because what is real truths? It's not something that we're exposed to on a daily basis, especially if we're behind this screen, especially if we're behind this on your computer, on your phone, or whatever it is you're looking at. Back in the days, the television, they used to call it the idiot box, or but all of these kind of lend to the same piece of the puzzle, right? And then, you know, it's kind of like that fun house in the carnival, right? Or at the circus or at the carnival, right? All these skewed mirrors. Like you're looking at these, you know, skewed mirrors, and it's a version of reality. It's an altered, you know, it's an altered reflection of reality, but is it reality? Is it the truth? Right?
Right.
So that's kind of, you know, that's what we're constantly doing here. We're presenting these, you know, current events. We're presenting these little things, but does this really matter, right? In the end, right?
Right.
You know, because we see time and time again where people who we've considered to be ultra successful in life. You know, we go back to the story of Robin Williams and what happened to him at the end, or we go to, you know, we find all of these guys who have made it. You know, even the Jeffrey Epstein guy, right? Even the Jeffrey Epstein guy, right? At some point, people looked at him and deemed him successful, right? This guy was, him and Ghislaine Maxwell, these guys were invited to the wedding of a daughter of a former president, a former senator, right? So at some point, even that guy was considered successful. So, you know, we've all got these little skewed...
Well, I mean, with Epstein, was it successful, or was it that he had the means to get these scumbags what they wanted?
Sure.
I mean,
would
you consider I guess, I mean, if whatever your measure of success is,
pedo?
I mean, would you consider a massive drug dealer successful?
Okay, so again,
because he supplies what people need.
We provide you. We provide you with, you know, and everyone provide. We all provide each other. How about we frame it in that way? We all provide each other with these little slivers or little pieces of a
thought-provoking content,
right? But you know, this thought-provoking content is just a small piece of a gigantic picture.
Yeah.
And the gigantic picture is truth.
Sure.
Right? I mean, and I'm talking about transcendent truth. Truth that's the same yesterday as it is today, as it will always be in the future. Right? So, you know, let's say a physical truth would be like if you were to slice a live body open, a truth of the matter is that you're going to get bloodshed. How about that being truth? Physical, right? Because that's the same, you know, back in the days as it is today, and it will be forever. There's other truths. There's spiritual truths, right? There's mental truths, right? You know, we always point to the idea that, you know, depression is, you know, I think recently Jim Carrey, you know, pointed at an idea that depression is your mind saying that it's currently in a situation that it does not want to be in, and it does not know how to remove itself.
Needs a break
from that situation. Needs a break, right? I mean, I'm just paraphrasing what he said, right?
I mean, essentially,
but
what he said, yeah.
I mean, that points to a truth, a mental truth. So there's all these little truths that we're trying to unveil, right? Another truth can be that can be highlighted is the idea that, you know, human beings we're a social species. We need the gathering of a mass. We need, you know, a lot of human beings need the social approval of a group, and this brings, you know, this leads to fulfillment. That's a truth. So there's all these little truths that we can peel back that you know equate to this big picture, and again, that's why Stephen and I have opened up this channel where you know. We noticed some idiocies that were being pointed out, you know, during the Trump era, and the Trump era and era. Error. Yeah. But yeah, so you know, we started to spew our ideas out on this channel. But yeah,
so there's, I mean, this might be an interpretive truth, but there's something on the screen right here that says, "There's one who speaks rashly like the thrust of a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing." I mean, fight me on that, because that's pretty factual, right?
Absolutely factual. And you know what's crazy is that
Proverbs 12:18, by the way.
yeah, biblical verses, right? So people question why a book like the Bible, right, and they would be valid in today's society. And
Right.
they question whether it's healthy or it's it's something that the modern man should rely on by the Bible. But I know we haven't lent to today's subject matter just yet, but
A little bit.
we're going to give you the subject matter. So today's subject matter we decided to talk on has to do with the power of language, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the words that we speak, the manner in which we speak it, the body language that we carry behind it, the intentions, language, the power of language, and we wanted to discuss, our views on the power of language, how it's used, examples of what it does in today's society, and how we've seen it used.
Mm-hmm.
We just kind of want to lend to it. So what I did was I said I always revert to the Bible because the Bible is a part of my childhood programming. So I wanted I looked up verses that have to do with the power of the spoken word. And so, wait, can you read that one more time for me, Steve?
There's one who speaks rashly like the thrust of a sword, but the tongue of the wise brings healing.
So this example in the Bible, probably written thousands of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
is an example of the truth, like a truth that transcends time, right? It talks about,
All these are pretty. They all can apply to today. Every single one of them.
Absolutely, right? And that's that's just the truth of the Bible, right? You might comment on some of the stories that were told back then, especially in the Old Testament of supposedly God, asking the death of a certain group of people, or different wars that were had where godly people, did a lot of killing, right? And then you
Right.
revert, then you take a look at the Ten Commandments and things like "Thou shalt not kill" appear, and the contradictories. But if you truly take the word of the Bible, if you truly take those words and you interpret them in the way that it initially was meant to be interpreted, which we have no degrees. We can't tell you, oh, it was meant to be interpreted this way. It's not meant to be interpreted that way. But this, the Bible was meant to be a tool, right? It was meant to be a tool for living. It was meant to be.
It is interpretive. Everybody's got a different. There's probably out of our 92 followers, 94. Hey,
Hey,
94 followers. So there's probably 94 different variations of that.
Right.
Of that. What are those called?
What?
There's little clips here.
Verses.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Grandma.
Bible.
But there's 94 different variations of what I just said, right?
I bet.
Everything's interpretive in this world. Every single thing you do is interpretive. It's interpretive to yourself. It's interpretive to people around you. Perception, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No.
being in you said, we don't interpret it this way or interpret it that way. It's fact. We stated what it says. Now it's up to those who hear to interpret and come to their own conclusion on what that means.
Right.
Some people might hear that and think it's abrasive or violent because there's the word sword in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But when you break it down and you like replay that in your head, you're not talking about cutting somebody in half, as you said earlier.
Sure.
You're saying that the words that
come out of a person's
mouth, the language they use
can
be just as painful to some as the thrust of a sword. Right. So that's my interpretation of that particular Bible verse, Proverbs 12:18. Continue.
No. So all I'm pointing out is that the writers of these words probably intended something useful, right? But then, years later, as it always happens, people will take these words and skew them in the way they want, or utilize them in the way they want, right? And then, good or bad things happen, right? Just like the invent of other tools, like the knife, right? Good and bad things happen from the use of a knife, right? You can kill and maim, or you can use it to build or cut your food, or it's tools have that duality. All tools. Fire, another example,
right?
But words, the Bible itself, the Quran, all of these words, odes, love ballads, any song written in the past 1,000 years, even further back. All of these have the ability to be interpreted and read in any way the reader chooses. Right. The power that we kind of want to discuss as far as language is concerned has to do with daily communication. Daily communication between you and friends, daily communication between influencers and followers, daily communication between politicians and their constituents, pastors and their congregation, priests and their parishes. All of these different examples of language being tossed back and forth, the tennis game, all of these examples have a specific result. The result is based on the words chosen. The words chosen and the intention in which these words are delivered, right?
Right. So you can choose words and deliver words to cater to the foolish, or the weak-minded, which is pretty much what's going on every day of our lives nowadays. So if you're weak-minded or foolish, you're easily swayed by big words or words that carry a certain weight or have an undertone to them, to have people follow you for your version of a greater good, not necessarily the greater good for humanity, but your concept of what is the greater good. We can go list many examples of what's been happening in the past 3 years of groups that cater to the feeble-minded. We won't, because
cults.
we've beat that horse to death, resuscitated it, and beat it to death again. So we won't do that again. But when you cater to those, as I said, weak-minded individuals, it's easy to fool. Like we've said it before, a person is smart, people are dumb. You can fool a group of people into thinking that they're doing it for what seems to be a greater good, when it's really for whoever spoke those initial words, is for their own self-progression, right?
And then that person, whoever's the driving force behind this group, they provide some type of a comfort that these followers or sheep will right? I mean,
oh, you're right.
That that comfort that's provided by this shepherd, it kind of lulls them into doing whatever he wants. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, for the good and the bad, of that specific group, right? I mean, you can go back to like that Jim Jones back in the, I forget, what was it, the 60s, 70s? 60s or 70s, maybe even 80s. You know what? Fact check me, guys. Jim Jones led this congregation to, off American soil, and they built some type of a commune, and there was reports of abuse of all kinds coming, to the media, came to the attention of the world, and when investigated, and they were about to be in, I guess they were, on the brink of being arrested or going and that entire compound being dismantled. Jim Jones led his congregation to mass suicide. Right? So we've seen it in that situation. We've seen it in other situations.
I mean, imagine being that weak-minded that somebody could just use words and
Yeah.
manipulate you to thinking that it's better to not be living and follow this dipshit into what ends up being
Crazy
the
shit.
ultimate decision you can make, right?
That's only one example,
Right.
right? It's only one example of people willing to take their lives because of the words that some leader or a group of leaders said.
Right. Somebody who established themselves as a leader
Mhm.
or a king, which is an excellent segue. I'm getting pretty good at segues.
Okay.
Excellent segue onto the next Bible verse of, since the word of the king is authoritative, who will say to him, what are you doing? Which
Man.
is, I mean, I couldn't even.
I think your mom and grandparents will be proud of you.
Well, to be fair,
reading the Bible.
to be fair, reading this. But I mean, that's perfect for today, right? Like,
right.
who's gonna ever say, like, enough is enough? What are we doing as a human race worldwide? Not just in this messed up situation that is the United States now,
Mhm.
but worldwide. What are we doing? Like, nobody is going toward the greater good.
You know, it's funny because you mentioned education, right? Being educated earlier, right?
Mm.
And one example of education, I believe, is the ability to hear words from a king, from a newscaster, from a pastor, from whatever source these words are heard from, and to be able to cipher and to extract the useful things for them.
Right.
Right, I think that's what
For your own self.
Yeah,
Right.
I think that's what true education is.
Sure.
Right, because
Right.
you can hear a lot of mumbo jumbo from people. You can hear a lot of mumbo jumbo from the two of us,
Mm-hmm.
and you can create these harmful complexities in your own head, or you can extract the little things that we might say that might be helpful to any one of you out there listening.
Mhm.
Right, and run with it and allow it to heal you, allow it to propel you into something better. But that's education,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's not a piece of paper. In my eyes, it's not some
No.
piece of paper. You want to talk about like some current event. So I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson, right? There's a group looking to revoke one of his medical licenses, right? And deem him without this medical license if he doesn't re-educate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're talking about one of the most brilliant thinkers of our time. These guys, this group of people decided, oh no, you're not going to have this license.
Right.
And what does that have to do with the brilliance that comes out of that man's mouth today?
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do. You can take that license, you can roll it up real tight and shove it up your ass, and it would do just as much good.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because whoever likes whatever comes out of Jordan Peterson's mouth is going to still listen to him regardless of that piece of paper that you guys deem so necessary.
But also, too, I mean, like, to that example, like when certain jobs, right, require a degree, right?
Mhm.
You could have nothing, your degree could have nothing to do
shit.
with the job that you get.
Right.
It just shows a company or whoever you're using that degree for that you were committed enough for 4 years to stay committed to it.
Right.
How does you and me not having a degree show our lack of commitment in any way?
You know what's funny is I worked with multiple degree holders. I mean, when I say multiple degree holders, one person who held a bachelor's in something or a double bachelor's and a master's. And these people were the biggest idiots I had ever experienced.
Imagine.
Right?
Yep.
Because
There's an arrogance about
because
it. Too.
all that says to anyone is that you were willing to sit your ass in the classroom for so many semesters. It didn't mean that you took anything in. It didn't mean that you were able to.
It also doesn't mean you passed with flying colors either. You just did enough to get by.
Well, but it doesn't mean even if you passed.
That's what I'm saying.
You just did something that this professor deemed necessary for him to give you a A or a B. It didn't mean he followed any rubric. It just means that you got on his good side. Worst case scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you took the information and you absorbed it at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're able to integrate it in your day-to-day life, right?
Right.
Like I've met these teachers that couldn't even present curriculum to a classroom correctly because they were so they created so many complexities in their minds about who these kids were,
Right.
and what would be best suited to present curriculum to them. Or they had their own ideas of what school should be, and they were just there because
They got summers off.
they needed a paycheck,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's so many reasons. Like anyway, we were trying not to veer off the subject too much, but we really kind of want to drive the power in the words that are used, right? Even in a personal in one's personal day, right? When you use words about yourself, right? When you use words about yourself and the effects that it'll have, right? When a person talks about themselves and it's nothing but negativity,
Self-deprecation.
it's self-destruction.
Yeah.
You can almost guarantee that whatever it is that person is going to do following those words won't succeed. Right. I don't love, but I hate to hear when a person does that to themselves.
Yeah.
When they say, "Oh man, I'm about to go here, but oh man, I don't know if I'm able to. Or I'm going to take this test, but I doubt I'm going to pass it. Or I'm going to go play this game, but good luck. With my luck, we'll lose." Whatever that whatever follows those words of negativity, you have to set yourself up through the power of language. We've always said it, right? Reality begins with your thoughts. Thoughts turn into words. Words turn into actions. Actions turn into results, right? So those words that are spoken are an intricate part of the sequence that guarantees great results.
Right.
So I mean, language is huge.
I mean, it goes both ways. Like we talk about events and social media and influencers are all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when they're out talking, just spewing what they heard from somebody else, and because they have 2 million followers, and where they heard it from has 200 followers,
Right.
That person with 2 million followers gets that credit for that idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was watching videos last night, and just basically just to get a temperature of what the youth is
What they're talking about, what they're thinking
well,
about.
no, just like what their mind frame
what the
is,
trends
right?
are today.
And somebody was walking around at campus. I want to say it was Stanford. It's an Ivy League school.
Okay.
Right? So they asked who the worst person on the planet is. On the planet.
Okay.
Not in the country.
Right.
Not in a state.
Right.
On the planet. And 2 people said Trump.
Okay.
2 people said Andrew Tate.
Oh shit.
And I had to stop watching that video because the basis of that video was to show how dumb the youth of America is now, right?
Absolutely.
And you can't even follow up that question with why. Why do you why is that?
Right.
Right? Because there's no example that they can give, a valid example that they didn't hear somewhere or get planted in their head or whatever their group of friends thinks that was a valid reason as to why those 2 guys are the worst people on the face of the planet. I mean, you have Kim Jong-un.
Right.
You have
who's filled these concentration camps up with people with prisoners that he believe is anti
and they're doing the
North
same
Korean
thing.
communism.
They're doing the same thing in China.
Right.
You have isolation policies in China.
Right.
That guy's pretty fucked up, if you ask me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You have Putin,
Mm-hmm.
who is basically bullying his way into another country.
Uh-huh.
Not successfully, by the way,
Yeah.
but still, he's not a great guy. You have the leader I forgot his name, but the guy in Iran.
How about Bush? How about George Bush Jr.? Right, the guy who claimed that we should go into Iraq because there's weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
And he lied. right? And leading American soldiers into die, and having left it, we all find that there was really no reason to be there in the first place.
I mean, I guess the bottom line is there's so many other people.
But the point is that there's all these people who actually did terrible things.
Right.
And then these young idiots can only make statements based on what they've seen within their last,
their last view of TikTok.
Exactly.
So it's kind of depressing. And then there's another video that I scrolled up and watched, and it was, do you think voter IDs is racist? And they asked a bunch of white kids.
Right.
And they all said, yes, it's racist, because they said literally things like black people don't know enough. They can't get licenses because they're broke.
Holy
they don't
shit.
know how to pass the test. They're saying shit like this.
Oh my God.
Then the guy goes,
so they're being racist while proclaiming something is racist.
By thinking, yes.
Right.
So then the guy goes to Harlem and asks black people. He shows them the videos and asks them, and they're like, these people are just like, why would they think that we're incapable of getting driver's license? And it's just like, you want to talk about systemic racism and all this other bullshit that goes on. That kind of shit right there, saying something is racist doesn't alleviate you from being a racist. You can't say I'm not a racist and then say something racist.
Like that.
I mean, Jesus Christ. Are you serious? I couldn't believe it. And these are the people that in 20 years are going to be running this country.
Right. But, again, it goes towards our subject matter today. The power of your words, right? The power of words heard by these idiots, right?
Right.
Each statement it has an influential tug, right? On a direction that someone is going to head in, on actions that people will take, and obviously, and this is what's obvious to me about today's society. A lot of these young people stop at words, meaning words are so heavy to them that they don't move. There's no actual action taken by these people. Right? Because a person who is a person who takes action, words have a much less intensified impact on them.
Less bite,
right? Words have less bite to a person that will take action, because that words are just a step in that path to the result, right? Words are just, so whenever your results, and we've said this 100 times, whenever your results aren't what you want, you always go back to the
step before.
Right, the step before that, or the initial step, your thoughts, right? Thoughts, then words, then actions, then result, right? You go back to any of those to change the result. So a person who is just stuck on words and being so mortified or paralyzed by words, it's obvious where they're going wrong. Right, and that's, I hate to say it, but that's today's youth, and that's
they're captivated by bullshit.
Sure,
they're captivated by the first thing. Excuse me. People look at is how many followers the video that they're watching has.
Right.
Like you and I could have a cure for cancer and have 300 followers. Nobody sees that shit. Nobody sees it because we're not. We're not spewing the bullshit.
Right.
We're not recycling the nonsense that's been out there. Which leads me to another Bible verse that you have over here.
Go ahead.
So, which things we also speak, not in words taught by human wisdom, but in those taught by the Spirit, combining spiritual thoughts with spiritual words.
Okay, so I don't know if anyone, and I don't know if you practice it, but prayer and meditation is a huge part of religious life, right? So, as a child, I was taught the importance of praying over everything. So I pray over my food whenever I can. I wake up in the morning and I enter into prayer. But prayer and meditation, now that I'm not because I'm no longer religious, right? I don't go to church anymore. But all of these
Does that make you not religious?
Well, so religion is just something practiced.
Sure. I mean, do you have to go to a building?
I mean, I consider myself a seeker of the divine, right? I know my Creator. I know my God has created me, and there's capabilities, and a lot of that early childhood programming has lent me a lot of the practices. So some of the practices I still practice, like prayer and meditation. It's in my life. It will always be in my life. But yeah, so if you sit in prayer and you sit, there's a verse in the Bible that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Right. So if you actually take the time to be still, waiting on God's presence, you will actually feel, right? You will actually feel Him if you truly seek Him. If you're truly seeking what's to come that day, that or in that next leg of life, whatever it is you seek of Him, He will show you. He reveals you. So when they talk about the spiritual movement, that's what they're referring to, right? So like you speak these words. What's funny is I'll have like these conversations with people. So a lot of times, most of the times, it's like an argument or a debate. But I'll have these conversations, and then afterwards I'll pray. You know what I mean? If I felt something during that argument, or if I felt, but I'll pray about it, and then there will always be an answer. An answer about whether about what I've done, because your walk with God solely has to do with you and the movements that you make, right? So movements that you make can involve who you allow in your life, how you respond to the people that you've allowed in your life, how you respond or how you move in your day-to-day. These are the things that a divine connection will show you, will reveal to you. It's really my therapy. You know what I mean? But anyway, when you read that verse, that's what comes to mind. Because as you speak, as you people often use the phrase, "Oh, I'm gonna let it out." Let the universe know. Right. But
usually tends to come with negative things.
Sure.
Like why'd you put that out in the universe? Why did you say the Dodgers are not going to throw no?
Right. Or their aspirations and ambitions. They'll let that out there. Oh, I'm gonna win the lottery. I'm gonna be rich. Those things. I'll put that out there in the universe.
That works.
But so when you have this, when you seek this divine connection, or this connection with God, there's something that comes with it. There's a spiritual movement. There's a spiritual relationship that comes with it. Right. That so helpful. You talk about worry or anxieties or things like depression. I've never felt those things, right? Or when I begin to feel things that kind of mimic that, I go into my prayer and meditation, and it truly answers all of that for me. But
So I think a lot of people are I don't want to say scared, maybe intimidated of having a relationship with a God, right?
Okay.
Not necessarily doesn't always have the same God in mind, but I think a lot of people are, especially now. It's not cool to be religious now. If it was cool to be religious, I truly believe that most of these issues that are plaguing the world would probably not be that big of a deal, because it wouldn't be so.
I don't know.
So caked on everything. Everything you look at is just so fucking negative.
All you have to do is look at the past, right? Look at the Crusades, right? So again, we talk about tools, and so religion and this
has become a very religious episode. But.
Well, I'm just let's continue to talk about these tools, and religion being one of them. Writings having to do with religion, or other tools, separate tools from religion itself. Right. But religion is a tool that has been utilized in terrible ways, but it's also been used for the good.
Right. Well, it is. I mean, what do they say? Most wars are based on money or religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, I think I'll stick to my previous statement of I think most people are intimidated, maybe not scared, intimidated to have that moment where they feel something, that moment where they know something else exists, and they've led such a misconstrued life up to this point, up to the point where they feel that they're like, oh shit, this is for real.
Yep.
And then they tend to overcompensate and become super nuts about it.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to make up ground, right?
Yeah.
I don't go to church. I went to church when I was younger with my grandparents, but I don't go, but I still believe,
Okay.
right? I wear St. Jude around my neck every day since probably 7th grade.
Okay.
It's something that never comes off. And St. Jude is the patron saint of things, lost causes and things despaired of.
Okay.
So, it was my great grandma's medal. So I do believe that there is a power, a being greater than us, right?
Absolutely.
So, but I don't preach that. I don't force that. I don't really talk about it much, obviously. I don't know certain Bible verses like you do, but these are here. So, and this is all. When was the Bible written?
Well, it's been written in a span of time, right? So the earliest verses were credited to 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, I believe.
So let's just say, for argument's sake, these verses were in the original print. Doesn't matter if it's 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, 500 years ago. It applies to this day right now still.
Yeah.
So if there's any sort of doubt in anybody's mind that this is applicable to the next step in your cycle of life, all these are just in your face, that there's something else greater than us, greater than TikTok, greater than Instagram, greater than Facebook, greater than all that shit that's just perpetuating the stupidity of people.
Which is exactly why the two of us have this channel, right? Again, we always say that when you put out your version of the truth, and other people put out their versions of the truth, it's doing exactly what these Bible verses are doing, right? It's narrowing down these words that are spewed by different people, and it's allowing these better ideas to rise to the top. The Bible itself is just stories from multiple resources. I mean, we could probably even say 100 plus resources or sources. These are journals of specific people's lives. Like King David and Psalms are basically his journal, the journal of King David, right? It's his Psalms or his ode to the God he serves, or the days where of his movements, and then God's influence on those movements, right? So I mean, it's the again, people point to the outdatedness of the Bible. In reality, the Bible has been interpreted in so many language, through so many different to so many different cultures. I'm not saying what we know as the Bible today is wrong or interpreted wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm going to repeat exactly what we said initially in the beginning. The Bible was written by a specific people, and then whoever it is who reads it is going to take whatever they want from it. They can interpret it in any way they want.
Exactly.
What I want to point to, as far as anything written, anything spoken, in the last decades that I've been alive, I know phrases have mutated, right? So I always point to the word bad. When I was a kid, the word bad meant that was cool, or accept. Man, that's bad, right? Well, that's a bad bitch, right?
Ooh.
Well, I mean, I'm just pointing out the meaning of this one word has basically different meanings based on how it's used.
Yeah.
Right? Or different phrases. Boss. Yeah, he's a boss.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's my boss. Right?
Well, Michael Scott said, those shoulder pads and perm are totally boss, man. Now boss is just a phrase for some guy who's in charge.
Right. So words and phrases have different meanings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even we can point to these things in the decades we've been alive.
Right.
Imagine millennia of verses and scriptures and words and odes and paragraphs that have been put together. And then decades later, centuries later, someone else decides to translate them. Not only translate them from a different time or a different era, but from a different language into another language. And then decades or even centuries later, someone else decides to interpret that same text into another language, into a different time, into a different era. We have been playing a game of telephone for years, for centuries, for millennia, right? In the written word. But it all comes down to this. It all comes down to the use of these words, right? And as we speak to each other, as we hear words spoken via the television, via the phone or the computer, and based on our interpretation, all of the usage, all of the power, the intensity of these words can be manipulated in any way the listener wants.
Mm.
The beauty of it is that you choose, right? And then hopefully everyone has at least their own best intentions in mind, right? And then we always talk about, you always got to start with yourself, and then you move out to your core group in life, and then the other people that are affected in your ripple of life, in your ripples, right? But you have to look out for the good, and it begins from you, from each person. So words, like anything else, like every other tool that we utilize in life, it has that same power. Right? Has that same power to heal. So begin with the taking of these words and healing yourself first and foremost, knowing what's best for yourself, and then in turn you affect your circles, and the circles right out of that, right outside of those, and and on and on and on, all the way to the extent of your reach.
Mm. Pretty good segue. You're getting pretty good segues.
I'm a segue king, man.
But another one, Proverbs 10:19.
Mm-hmm.
When there are many words, transgression is unavoidable, but he who restrains his lips is wise.
Truth. Right?
Otherwise, shut the fuck up sometimes and listen.
But, it kind of goes back to what I had just mentioned about the prayer and meditation, right? Prayer and meditation is that opportunity for you to shut your mouth, right?
Mm.
You may have a few words of gratitude to God. I always begin my prayers with Heavenly Father, I thank you for. And then I go down my list of what I'm thankful for, right? Because it's a good way to say, entering into prayer for myself with gratitude is always my entrance into my relationship with the divine, my relationship with God or my Creator, right? Heavenly Father, I thank you for waking me up this morning, allowing me life. Thank you for waking me up and allowing me this health, for I am health. Thank you for the opportunities, whatever it is that comes to mind that I can be grateful for. That's what I enter into my prayer for. Now, the silence and that quiet comes in once I've entered into gratitude, and it's not about asking. See, prayer, people misconstrue prayer as a time to go and ask God for whatever. You don't ask God for anything. He's going to give you what you need, right? Words can come out of your mouth as infinite as you like them to flow. But it's that time for you to acknowledge God and His presence, and then shut your damn mouth and allow him to reveal to you.
Know your role and shut your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, truly, it's that time for you to shut up and let him speak, or let him. It's again that scripture says, "Be still and know that I am God." Right? He runs the show. What we've got going on here is, it's all secondary, right? It's as flawed as we all are. It's funny that we rely on other human beings for what we should be relying on the divine or our God for.
So your faith would not rest on the wisdom of men.
Nope.
But on the power of God.
On the power of God. That's it. He's right as we speak, man. It just segues into verse after next verse, after next verse after next verse. That's just the beauty of the Bible, man. But again, people can misconstrue these verses and say and point out whatever the hell they want.
Right.
Well,
a lot of people shy away from this because they hear Bible, God, church, religion, and shut down because they're so far removed from a connection, right? And it doesn't have to be a connection with, what is the picture of what God looks like, right? Or Jesus Christ looks like. Just a connection with something that is higher than yourself, right?
More powerful than you.
Right. Nothing materialistic, right? You can't
more powerful than any physical thing you understand.
You can't pray to your BMW, that kind of crazy shit.
You can't even pray to your government.
No.
As powerful as a lot of people believe the government is, you can't pray to your government, right?
No.
It's foolish to do so. Because again,
if people want to think about, pray to my government because I want something or I need something, that's right there evidence enough that they don't give a fuck about you. Right. I mean, look around you, for Christ's sake. It's $9 for a dozen eggs now.
That's fucking wild, dude.
I was at Denny's the other day. This is a sidebar. This $4.99 for a Coke at Denny's.
Okay.
Fuck off, Denny's.
We were at the airport at a bagel sandwich spot and paid $71.
Oh my God.
For 2 combos.
No, you didn't.
Yes, we
did. You paid that.
We paid that. $71.
Let me ask you this question.
Combos.
For $71, did you get to slap the person on the other side? Because that's
you talk about knowing like the cost of shit nowadays. It's wild.
I can't.
$71 for 2 combos.
Were they massive
bagels? Bagel? No, they were fucking awesome bagels.
They fucking better be.
These are awesome bagels, but we paid $71 for 2 combos. That was a bagel, chips,
and a pickle,
and a drink.
Oh my God!
$71 for 2. Yeah, you talk about inflation, but
wait a minute. I cannot believe that somebody had the balls to change the price.
To what?
$37 a fucking piece?
Yeah.
First of all,
well,
wait a minute. You're a smart guy.
Yeah,
you're a fucking smart guy.
Yeah.
You're a smart guy.
Mm-hmm.
When you walked up and saw that price, and you're like, let's continue with this transaction. Or were you that hungry?
We were hungry.
Man. I'm like, can I... For $71.
I spent some silly money on stupid shit.
$71 on fucking bagels.
Hey, let's talk about this. We're into the power of words, right? So when we talk about how expensive things are, right? When you talk about how we can't afford this, or we can't afford that, or this is too expensive, and that's or you change your way and say, that's nothing, or saying, yeah, I'll pay that, right? I can afford this,
right?
Those words are just as powerful,
sure,
right? Mm-hmm. Like when you talk about gas, I can afford the $5 to $6 gallon gas,
right?
When you change that, I guess it would be narrative, right?
Or you change your mindset.
Right?
Yeah.
When you change that also has power,
Sure.
right? Because you never limit yourself. So in my kind of like experience in life, you're always putting yourself in that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
You put yourself in the capacity to afford
Right.
more expensive things.
I mean, I understand your way of thinking.
No.
But there's zero chance in hell you're going to convince me $71 for 2 bagels.
No. I'm not trying to convince you of that. But we talk about the power of that.
Sure.
One thing I always try to, I always pointed to people about my experience in Seal Beach, right? So one thing I realized, having a few conversations early on in my stay in Seal Beach. I got there in 2005 and began working there, right? I had some conversations, and I was talking to this one guy, blue collar guy, and he was like, "Hey man, I want to buy you whatever it is you want tonight." I had a rough week, but I put my best foot forward. I made real money because that's what I do. I work hard. I make my money and I work hard, and I'm not scared to spend it. And you look like a guy I want to spend some money on. Right? So,
Like what my rents do.
listen, conversation with that guy. Later on that same night, I had a similar conversation with a couple talking about how they had a good week. They had a great week. Work was, awesome, hard. These guys, this couple had a business. They 16 hour work days, but their business made fat money, and they wanted to spend some money, right? So this language that I was hearing more of in Seal Beach kind of opened my eyes, because being from the quote unquote hood,
Mm-hmm.
I never heard those conversations.
Right.
I don't care how much money people had, that those conversations weren't the norm. Right? These people would be like, "Oh man, they trying to steal my money." As a matter of fact, some of the richest people I had known that moved in the hood, hey, what's going on, man? How you doing, Mr. So-and-so? "Oh, the man's trying to keep me down." Mind you, this guy lived in a gated community.
Mm.
Mind you, this guy was a world-renowned, but he was world-renowned.
Mm-hmm.
But he had this real hood mentality. "Oh, the man's keeping me down."
Right, it's a crutch.
Right. So, again, we talk about the power of language.
Mm-hmm.
What ultimately attracted me to the Seal Beach culture were these conversations that I've had.
Right.
Because these people weren't scared. That wasn't a factor. Expense wasn't a factor.
Right.
in them living their lives. It had nothing. It had little to do with the good time they were going to have or the bad time they were going to have or whatever it was. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you talk about the power of language, like that type of reprogramming yourself, changing up the monologue or monologue you're having with yourself, dialogue you're having with others. It's a powerful thing. You can absolutely change your result, right? So I began to be more attracted to that. So, for me, I wanted to be around those people. So for me to come to Seal Beach every single weekend was actually a joy, just so I can, get involved with more of those conversations and hear these people think, because it had an effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I no longer thought in terms of scarcity or I always thought like I too want to have those. I too want to tell people, man, I did this and it was nothing.
Right.
You
Well,
know what
I mean, I think a lot of people who don't have that particular mindset
Mm-hmm.
have deeper issues with money.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always lived by the creed that if I have a job, more money will come, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Money, if you have a job or whatever, you have a business, money will always be there. So I don't worry about money, which is probably a detriment at this point. But I don't really concern myself with cost.
Mm-hmm.
But $71 for 2 bagels? I mean, fucking hell.
Hey, we were at the Las Vegas airport.
I would be like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'll have peanut butter and jelly sandwich when I get home.
Oh, shit. Those are some good fucking.
Do you understand?
Those are good bagels, bro.
They better. They sure as fuck better. That better be the best bagel you've ever had.
One of them. I'd say, yeah. One of the best bagels I'd ever
For
had.
that, it has to be the golden standard of bagels.
Oh, shit.
Did you get to keep the plate or something?
It came in a bag.
Oh my god. Reusable? Was it a Coach bag it came in? The fuck? $71. My grandpa's gonna faint when he hears it. He'll call me when he hears it. Like, are you shaking? Did he spend $71? My grandpa would have went there, saw the prices, and he'd be like, no. Where are the peanuts on the plane?
Easy.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm telling you.
But that was with tip, though. With tip, 71 with
Did you tip this person $62? Because what the fuck? God damn, dude.
Yeah.
$71.
Like we were in some sit down restaurant or some shit. Huh?
I mean, $71. There's somebody. There better be some activity going on.
Oh, shit.
Better be like 50-yard line.
Hey, that game though. Anyway, so I mean, you know what? Let's go ahead and close out our episode, and you know, we can bring up some.
You know, I've been alive for 41 years and seldom been at a loss for words.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first brand
fucking
new,
floored me. I can't believe. He said that was with tip.
With tip. It was with tip. With tip.
I'm telling you.
$71.
You unless you put an extra zero on the 5. That's fucking crazy, bro.
Oh, shit.
That's fucking nuts.
Pretty good bagel though, man. Really.
Again, this has to be the gold standard of bagels.
I get it.
Platinum standard.
Well, hey,
like you better never order
power
a
of
bagel.
words. Look. We're gonna close out our power of words.
That's a month's worth of bagels. Fucking hell.
Anyway, come on. Let's talk about why I was in Vegas.
Why?
So my brother spoke after 25 and a half years. Decided to marry his woman.
Oh shit!
Hey, the brand new Mrs. Langford, huh? Kudos.
Wow.
So we were in Vegas, and for that, this guy thought after 25 and a half years, he thought he was going to elope, and nobody was going to come. That's the only elopement I've ever seen 35 guests at.
Must have forgot my number again, Spook, huh?
Well, you know, it was just, you know.
Go ahead, say something. Go ahead.
Just spur of the moment.
Just close friends?
No. It was all family. Everybody was
$71. Congratulations.
As a matter of fact, in Spook's defense, it was, he said, I'm going to Vegas to elope. We invited ourselves. And he kept repeating at the service, which we had to catch via a Zoom recording because, you know, we were late.
No.
Well, you know, we had to go watch the game. That's why. And then we flew in. Right. So he kept repeating, hey, you know, thank you guys for inviting yourselves to my celebration. Because he told us, and then we were all like,
I'm glad it wasn't a hindrance.
You ain't going out by yourself. So yeah, we ended up going out, having a great time. You talking about money spent, bro?
So I guess the next time I see him, I'm gonna have to take a shot with him.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, bro.
All right,
you're gonna have to.
I will.
Yeah, decide. Hey, congratulations, brother.
Yep.
Man, it was awesome. Good times.
Yes. Good time. And $71 for a fucking bagel.
2 bagels.
That's the last I'm taking. I can't do this anymore.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
You've pissed me
next
off.
week.